Here we go. All right, we are live on YouTube. And look, today we actually made it on time and the computer did not blow up on me. Look at God. My. I promise you. I feel like every Monday when I get on here, it's something. But we're here for the Bright Girls in Business show. I'm Chanelle Yarbrough of Bright Girl Media, and I am so super duper excited today to bring to you my guest, Miss LaWanda Thomas. She is, I'm going to let her tell you all the things that she does, because she does all the things. I promise you, she is a powerhouse. She is a beast. When she is perfectly poised to talk about faith and entrepreneurship. She is the owner of Regal Touch cleaning service. She is an author of From Buckets to Big Bucks. Yes. She has a radio show. She has a podcast. Let me tell y'all, this girl does it. So I just want to hop right on in and say welcome, LaWanda, and thank you for
having me.
Yes, thank you for joining me. When I was like putting my lineup together, I'm like, I gotta have LaWanda on here. We had these conversations before, and we get on here and we just go. And so I just faith is something that anchors me. It's something that is big in my life, and it seeps through everything that I seem to do. No matter where I go, it's just who I am and what I do. And so I know the same for you. I see the same in you. And so I really want to just talk about what marketplace ministry means to you, because that's kind of a buzzword. It's kind of a phrase that I hear a lot. But what does that mean to you in your world?
For me, marketplace ministry is really, as you said, it's the buzzword now. It's very popular. You hear everybody throwing it around, especially since entrepreneurship has kind of went on a wave, I always say, in these last 5 to 10 years. So now within the last 5 years, you hear, especially within the church scene, you hear the word marketplace ministry. You hear people talking about going out into the marketplace and compelling men to come in. I've heard it all. You've heard in versions. Listen, I've heard it all where that the Lord has gifted. Now, I do believe this part. The Lord has gifted a lot of us with the ability to work in the marketplace and to be that light for Christ. And over the last couple of years, I'm definitely in agreement with that definition. I'm starting to see that in the marketplace, that if more Christians would be more visible, stand up more, show excellence, because I'm all about that. It's great to be in the marketplace and say you're a Christian, but if you do not show excellence, and if you do not show 10 times better, as the Bible talks about, being in business, then you might as well not say nothing. Just like the rest, we want you to be silent. So to me, because what I've noticed about marketplace ministry is really growing. I'm seeing more and more Christian entrepreneurs come into place. I'm seeing a lot of Christian entrepreneurs look like it. So look like everybody in the church sees now are like, oh my God, God has gifted me to bake, so I'm about to start a business. And so it's getting so popular, but a lot of people don't understand it's ministry in it. Because I run into people all the time and I don't say anything, but sometimes conversation leads to faith. That's how them conversations start. Mm-hmm. And they'll ask you something and it leads to talking about your faith and what you believe. And before you know it, becomes ministry. Yeah. So now that's how I assimilate marketplace ministry, doing an excellent job in the marketplace for Christ, so that men might see your good work and glorify the Father. So that's how I take it.
I love that. Because this Saturday I did a talk.
Yes.
And I did a talk about marketing. That's my thing. That's my lane of genius, if you will. And I got in front of this crowd and I was going, and then it was like, whoop, like and it wasn't purposeful. But my prayer was answered, because before I got up there and started talking, I was like, God, I just want you to be glorified in what I do.
Yes.
Speak through my lips and just help me to just, like you said, be excellent and, just show forth your glory. And sure enough, I'm up here and I'm talking about marketing, and then I started telling these people about faith and I don't even know what I was talking about. I was just going, it wasn't even I was just going, girl. And I was just like, man, that's crazy. Everywhere I go, I feel like
Uh-huh.
it's just a part of me. I can't
It's a
really,
part of you.
I can't
Mm-hmm.
separate myself from it. So I think that I watch you a lot, on social media and just how you have come up in your entrepreneurial journey. How would you say, I know you talked about the excellence, but just day-to-day practice, how do you apply your faith
Mm-hmm.
in your entrepreneur role?
For me, it's so huge and big and needed. And when I was just talking on the podcast last week, telling them that right when you think you got it, you don't have it. And that teaches you that you have to stay in prayer. You have to stay in supplication, and you got to stay in communication with God, because I've gotten to the point where I gotten so busy working, things going good, and I neglect my relationship with Christ or just my time, and then I start noticing things falling off and falling back, and I'm like, what's going on? And then the Lord have to remind me, hey girl, you ain't talked to me in a while. I
Yeah.
haven't seen you. How you been? Like, you up here making decisions about your business without me.
Wow.
So I had to get back on, because in the beginning, when you start stuff, you know how it is, Chanelle. When you first start out, you gun ho, you praying, do it, Lord. You just praying over every business plan, every client. Oh, that ain't the one, Lord. Okay. You just everything. And then time progresses, you get busy and things start to happen and you think you're doing good. So as they always say, a lot of times we go to God to get for reactive reason and not being proactive, because now we need him to act on our behalf. But if we would have been proactive, we wouldn't have to run to him in a bunch. And so I had to learn that. So now my day-to-day routine is making sure that I'm in constant prayer, communication, stopping sometime and saying, okay, Lord, should I do this? Is this your will? Even with planning things, making sure that I'm planning things, and I pray about it. And I'm like, well, Lord ain't said nothing yet, so maybe not. But I'm learning now how much for me it's communication. Like, even if I'm driving and something feels off or something, or a client calls or something, and somebody try to book something, and I'm like, nah, I don't know, Lord, that didn't sound right. So even just having constant communication, staying in communication, reading, praying. I was telling them last week on the podcast, I'm reading a lot of self-help books because the Lord been dealing with me on learning how to get our inner man together so that we'll be better business owners. Because a lot of us not better business owners because our inner man is so, our personal life is messed up. Yeah. So even now in my times of reading a lot of the self-help books and things like that, I find myself now going back to God now more too, and saying, Lord, okay, what should I do for the business? Maybe I did this out of selfishness, or I did this because somebody else was doing it. So for me, it's constant communication. And when I fall off or get behind, I can tell, because things just don't flow as they should or would. So that's how my day-to-day faith is based on now. Like, I got to talk to him. I have to talk to him. I have to talk to him.
I love that. Because you're right. You get busy, and if you don't carve out that time, I know that when I wake up early and it's dark and nobody's moving and no dogs barking and it's just like the birds starting to chirp, that's my time. That's my quiet time. Even right before I got on this, this live, I was in there and I just was, laid out, and I was just like, I just need to hear. Just sometimes, it's so much noise around you all the time, especially as a business owner. You got people pulling from every direction. And sometimes things can seem like the right thing to do, or things seem like they're more urgent or more important than they really are. And they could really be a distraction. And so I guess my next question to you really is, how do you balance, and this might be, I don't know, this might be going somewhere, but how do you balance discernment from discernment, and I guess I'll say faith, from like you just doing things? Because sometimes you as a business owner, you have to be a quick decider. You have to be able to move, right? You could miss some opportunities. And sometimes I hear a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm waiting on God, I'm waiting on God. And sometimes I'm like, but is he waiting on you?
Right.
Or you know what I'm saying? So what would you say is the balance between those two, like taking those leaps of faith and waiting on God?
And I'm with you, especially with the waiting on God phrase. I was saying that last week too, because somebody said something in the comments, and I said, have you ever considered God waiting on you? Like he waiting on you to move. And then once you move, I feel once you step out there and move on some things, yes, some things do take you to sit out, plan, wait for the Lord to say, go, green light, go. But then there are times where, like for instance, with you, okay, I'll use you as an example, with you being highly educated, there are some things that just your education, in my opinion, would validate you doing it and stepping out there to do it, because the education you have backs it up. So for me, it's like, if education makes sense to you to say, well, this is just normal marketing practices. This is just normal marketing practices. Yeah, I'm praying that the Lord touch it, but this is just normal marketing practice that just makes sense. It makes sense. Yeah, I pray that the Lord give me extra creativity with it. Or I pray that the Lord give me discernment on who to do business with when I step out. But some things I do look at from a perspective of them just being normal, knowledgeable things that you're just normally good at. If you normally good at baking a cake and you start in your bakery, but you can bake cakes, you don't have to wait on the Lord to say eggs, milk, and butter. You can't blame him for eggs, milk, and butter. You already have the gift to do it. Now, what you could do is, before you start it, you can start to pray and ask the Lord, on ideas of who to deal with it, things of that nature. But especially for those who have college degrees in some areas. I was talking to a lady, she was very degreed in a lot of things. And a lot of things she was talking about just made sense because she degreed in it. Like, it made sense. And I'm like, so what is the problem? What are you waiting on? And she steady trying to say that whether I'm waiting to see if the Lord go, but I was like, it's A plus B. I mean, I don't know. I don't know much. But to me, it seemed like it just makes sense. And I was telling her, then what you're praying for is the Lord to give you guidance once you out there, to the right connections once you out there, the right who to get money from once you out there. Then I feel like God, this is where discernment comes in, because then God will give you discernment to say, no, don't take nothing from that person. No, that ain't a great connection. So I feel like that's where discernment come out there. But you got to get out there and put some work in or do something for him to send the discernment away to you. Because if you're just sitting at home, just waiting and waiting, and the Lord is like, I'm waiting on you to get up and do something. And so that's how I see the difference. And it's used a lot, especially in the church world. Sometimes I think it's used out of laziness. Sometimes I think it's used out of fear. Just to be honest, people are fearful. And so they'll just say, well, I'll just wait on God to move on it. And the Lord was like, well, I want you to move first. I want to see if you're going to take it serious. Mm-hmm. You take it serious, then come to me, and then I'll help you continue the way. So that's my difference with it, especially when people have an education in the field. I'm like, well, you went to school. Did you ask the Lord? Should you been sitting? Like, did you ask? I'm just, you got to answer. Especially people that go into fields with their education. I just be like, so,
Sometimes people do try to make it so, I don't want
more than what it is.
They do try to make it a lot more than what it is. And I'm like, it's really not that deep. Here's my thing that I tell people all the time. And oh, hey, Leslie, we got a viewer. If y'all on here and y'all want to make comments, go ahead, and we love the interaction, because I promise you I'm going to ask your questions or, say your comments out loud. So here's the thing that gets me when it comes to entrepreneurship. And I get it. It's a different thing. It's most of us didn't grow up in entrepreneurial environments and things like that. But people will go out here and pound the pavement day in and day out with applications and get doors slammed in their face, have sexism, racism, or whatever, keep them out of opportunities. And they keep going back to those people over and over again, asking for a job. And that same tenacity that they went out there with all those applications, they won't apply to themselves and their own gift. And then, like you said, they sitting there and they saying, "Oh, I'm waiting on God." And it's like, use what you already have in your hands. It reminds me of a Bible story. And for whatever reason, I can't think of what character it is right now. And it's going to come to me probably after we get off of here. But the moral of the story is that God was telling this person, use what you already have. I've already equipped you to do whatever it is that you know, are looking to do. I've already given you something. Sometimes those things don't multiply until you actually, you know, put them together. Going back to your example about the cake baking, you know, when Elijah went to the lady's house and she had oil.
She had everything she needs.
He told her, "Look, bake this cake." She thinking it's the last thing she gonna eat. Her and her son, you know, whatever. Like,
that's it.
You got something. Put it together. And sometimes it's just that simple. It's like, what do you already have in your hand? If you got a cell phone, you got everything you need really to start a business.
You really do.
Pick the phone up and call somebody and sell something to somebody and exchange a good or a service for money. Boom, you got a business. But you're right. So many times I do hear that it's especially in my consultations with people. I'm waiting on God to tell me. I'm waiting on God to. I'm like, God probably told you that about 10 years ago, because I remember us having this conversation before, and you was waiting on Him then. And now you're still waiting, but okay, you know, all right. So anyway, I guess my next question to you is, you know, what would you say is a time? Because when did you start your business? About 4 or 5 years ago?
4 years. It'll be 5 this year coming up.
Okay. So you kind of seasoned now, all right?
Yeah.
You know, you've been in this for a little minute. You've seen some season. You went through COVID. You know, all this stuff. What's a time that you can recall where you would say, you know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it was not you and it was nothing but God that worked this situation out in your business?
Well, I have a lot of moments, but I'll use a moment now. Been going through. I hired I got a partner now, and with me getting a partner, that was me actually stepping out on faith, but using discernment. That's a great example for me. Making sure that now I'm willing to hand my business with someone else and so forth. So we've been it feel like litigations in my opinion, but we've been back and forth with this company trying to get this contract to clean. And it's a huge contract. And we've been back and forth to the point where we've been up there and we've done 3 walkthroughs. We did minor cleaning from them as the construction is going up because it's newly constructed. We've done little stuff. So we went in there, we did a little cleaning, and they called it back for something else. We did something else. And so the reason I use this example is because now we're at the end, and I believe the favor of God is how I knew is nobody but God, because now they're like, you know, well, we've always wanted you all from the beginning. We was just had to bid. We always, you know, we had to bid. And it was always between you and them. But how I know it was nobody but God, because even in that, still being newer than some of the other business that bidded for it, the contract, they always say stuff to us in the emails like, oh, it's because I like you all, or it's something about you. And so I take that as it's God. That's what you see. Because the contractor is always telling my business partner in the emails. I recently seen an email they talked about last week, the final bid or whatever. And my business partner's like, we got it. We in there now. And he said it in the email. He was like, it's just something about y'all. Wow. You know, my business partner is a Christian as well. So he like, it's something about you all. And my business partner is always like, it's God, but he ain't got to see it. But we know. And so I think this is one of the moments it's nobody but God, because there are a lot of people that want it, bidded for it, lowered their numbers significantly so they could get it. And then here we are, and they still keep coming back, saying little stuff. Oh, we have something else you can clean. Oh, come back for the 3rd time so you can see that now we only want this clean. And so it's just been like the favor of God. Like, I know this is nothing but God. Like, God, you want me to have this. It got to be you. Because these people just keep on. It's almost like a tease. It's been like cat and cheese, And I'm just like, come on, stop it.
Yeah.
You know.
That happens though.
I feel that's my example. Right now, I'm living that to say, okay, this is God. Because I've been praying over this time, like, if it's your will, it'll be done. If it's meant for us to have it, it'll be done. You're show me that. And now I feel like, okay, this God, like, yeah, this is the favor of the Lord. But I've had that experience over the years, though, just with different things that come about. And I could tell it was nobody but God. A lot of times didn't have the backing for it or meet the criteria they were looking for. And they'll just give us a chance anyway. And I'd be like, this, it's nobody but God.
Yeah, it's like that. I promise you, it's so many times I walk into rooms and I purposely put myself in situations where I'm the least qualified, the poorest person, the dumbest person, because I like to be stretched and I like to learn. I like to hear what other people's conversations are. And what they're doing, because sometimes you get around other people and you're like, man, I need to level up. Like, I'm over here playing. I need to get myself together. So, I'll go in a room and like last week I was, sitting at a country club and I'm just sitting there listening to conversations and nodding and okay, yeah, I don't have to say anything. But then people, they will be attracted to you for whatever reason. It's like, I'm just being a fly on the wall. I wasn't trying to even attract any attention to myself. But they do. They see that light in you. And you always, that's just your personality. I know you like that, so I could say that. But you are just that, like, you're that attractive person, that attractive light. Like, people can't help but notice who you are and know that you're different. So keep doing that because that's what you're here for.
We will.
Yeah. So I believe in casting faith casting and speaking positive and affirmations and all types of stuff. Like that is what gets me through my day. When I wake up in the morning, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm telling myself, I feel like that is just the most powerful thing. It's like to look yourself in the eye and say, you are created for greatness, or you are enough, you are worthy, things like that. So if you could create anything for your future, right? Let's say by the end of this year, what would you say to yourself? What would you create with your own words and your own faith?
That's a good question. That's a very good question. I don't know. I'm trying to think because I do feel like that it's powerful to speak things into existence on your own life and in your own self. I have always so many goals, and even with the radio show, that was faith. Now I knew that was God, because I'll speak things into existence or I write them down and I'll go back and look in these books. I got books all over the place and I'll go back and look at them later and say, I did say I want to go on the radio show. And then I start noticing I've spoken into existence, ran into somebody. They're like, you know what? I just got on there. Let me find out if they got slots open. Then wait a while. Then all of a sudden the day that I wanted was written in my book. And I was like, oh my God, I said a Monday morning early, and then the slot was just sitting there available. And so for me, it seems like this is a really good question because I feel like I have been creating things with my words and I've been speaking things into existence. The biggest thing now is just really doing the whole getting Regal touch in different states. And really, I've made sure that now Chicago has its own and Indiana got its own. So I'm building them and then to keep creating and going forth. And so right now, I don't know what would be my biggest thing to create in words, but I know that I have been this year really speaking a lot towards myself. And like I told you earlier, really working on this whole self-help thing, the whole wholeness and healing. And so probably by the end of the year, I would love to see how the Lord will have helped me to heal and be whole inside so that I can be that $1 million business owner, or I can flourish in different marketplaces.
Yes.
So that's what I'm really looking for.
Look, I need you in Texas. Okay. I got these properties.
And I have family
I
down
need
there.
Regal Touch. You need to come on down and and stake your claim, girl.
It's funny you said that because I have family down there. My family keeps saying, well, just come down here because a lot of them moved from Mississippi. So they're in Dallas and Houston. And so they keep telling me to come on here, take a vacation, look around, help us start a Regal Touch, and we'll continue it on.
See?
So
you better start franchising.
Yeah, that's one of the things I really am looking into doing. And that's part of the reason why I'm partnering with him, because he has a specialties in these areas. And that's my goal, to start franchising. So something else to speak into existence. So yeah, for me, especially this year, the Lord just been homing on me. Like, once you get yourself together, then you could really do business on a whole nother level and take business to just the next part.
I don't think people get that. I wanna like sit here for a minute. This wasn't even a question that I had mapped out, but I want to sit here because you just said a mouthful, and it's so easy for people to just kind of brush over what you said and not really pick it up. You have to have the capacity in yourself. In and of yourself, you have to have the capacity to handle the things that you're asking for.
Yeah.
And I had posted, I think it was like last night, maybe yesterday or day before, one of these days, I had posted about healing the trauma that we have around money. And a lot of people don't realize that it's a real deep rooted and
yes, it is,
until you get around other people who have money and how they talk about money and how they use money as a tool. And it's effortless. And it's like, wait a minute, you did what? You asked people for this? And we're afraid to, raise our prices or sell stuff for a certain amount, or, we always want to haggle with people or whatever the case. And it's that emotional attachment to money and that healing that needs to go on, and just the mindset too.
The mindset.
Mm-hmm. And so I am really big on doing your inner work and really just really like having a real come to Jesus and so moment.
Yeah.
Right. Because we pray and we say, oh, God has created me for wealth, or he's given me the power to get wealth. Deuteronomy 8 and 28 and all this, and that's great. I ain't taking nothing away from scripture, but then, you don't have the capacity in yourself to handle what you just asked God for. And he is not going to give you something that's going to break you.
And that's the thing. I was telling them last week on the podcast. I said, I picked up this book thinking that it's going to give me 7 hot business tips to make you rich and all this stuff. And the first chapter is all about you, yourself. The first chapter, first couple of pages, I have to go back and reread, and I started taking notes. It's all about you. What's in you? Do you know who you are? Perception. That was the first chapter about, was perception. How do you perceive yourself? You worried about other people perceiving you in your business, but how do you perceive you? Do you even like you? Hello? It makes a difference. It makes a difference in the confidence in how you run your business.
Yes, it does. Yes,
it does. And we don't talk about it. We just want to hoop and holler and pull down millions. And then you don't know how to use millions when it come down, because a lot of people don't even know if they're created for millions. When millions come, they don't know what to do with them. They think it's a hoax. They think it ain't for them.
Oh my God. Oh, I hear so many people. They're like, oh, this is a scam. Like, what? Like, where's the scam? Where's the scam? Like, what do you mean?
Our mindset.
Woo.
These poverty mindset, cultural mindset, things that have been set on us, and has been, like you say, then you get around other people and the way they talk about money, the way they move through life and things that they say. And a lot of people, especially in our culture, get upset with them. Don't get upset with them. They know who they are. They figured it out.
Listen.
They figured it out.
Let me tell you. I sat at lunch with a guy. I sat at lunch with a guy, and I'm not normally impressed by people. I've been around celebrities and all, people are impressed with me. But this guy really impressed me, not because of who he was, but because of what his bloodline was. And he was so humble, right? but his family owned a ton of land out here in this area. I live in Collin County, Texas. So his family has historically owned a lot of land. And then the land started being like parceled out. They built subdivisions on it, this, and that. So people own homes and they own like businesses and everything on his family's land, but his family still owns the land today. Like over 100 years, they've owned this land, and they have like land leases, even though somebody else already got the house on the land.
Wow.
And so he's talking about this. He's like, oh yeah, we own, like they basically own half a city of land. And he don't do nothing. Like he goes around and he's like a venture capitalist or whatever. So he'll like invest in other people's businesses and stuff like that. But he don't work. Like he doesn't work like, like we think work. And the way he was talking and the way he was just talking about money, I'm sitting here like, we got to scrape, scramble, beg, borrow, steal, fight, work our knuckles to the bone. And this man, because his great granddaddy bought some land back in the day and had some horses and cows or whatever the case, he literally does not, he is what we would call a trust fund baby. And so he just like gives his money out and invests in other businesses and makes his money for him. While he's on land that's making money for him. And I'm like, but if I was to tell some certain people that, they would think it was a scam or it's something to it, or and it's just like, we gotta raise our level of consciousness. We really gotta raise our level. We've been locked out of so many things for so long, that we don't even understand how some of these people are moving and shaking out here. It's just craziness. So, whew. So what are you reading? I want to know, because now I want to read the book.
I gotta get the book. I think it's in the room, but it was like 7. I'll definitely tell you about or send it to you, like 7 business tips or 7. But I got it in a Myers up here because my daughter loves to read. So we've seen a bookstore, and she was just like, they got books in here because it's rare these days. And so she went over there and just started buying books. So at first, I ain't gonna lie, I went over there. First thing I picked up was the keto book because I was thinking about my health and I need to do better. And then I kept going down the list and started seeing books about business. But the book struck me. It's like 7 business tips to wealth or something. It stuck with me because after I picked it up and read the back and really started to flip through it, the beginning was about who you are. And so that is my book right now that I really have been going back in the first chapter. Matter of fact, I did my podcast last Wednesday about perception, how we worry about other people's perception of us. But what's your perception of yourself? Do you even know that you can accomplish it? Do you see yourself? Like, if you don't see yourself outside of this, you'll never get that. So that has been my thing now. And then just as far as business, the radio show is, everything is CNN, and I'm just now getting in a phase where I'm in a point now where, just like when you get to a point now, you have time. And with my time now, I'm going back, since I don't have to run as much, I'm going back and now I'm learning. Now I'm reading. I'm working on me. Sometimes I think we are somewhere and we don't, you don't go back. I've been in business, be 5 years coming up. So now I'm working on me. Now I'm working on the next step so that I can handle millions.
Yeah. Now
I'm working on knowledgeability and just not having the ability to do it, but being knowledgeable of it so I can sit at different tables now. And now I can take it. I don't have to work all night long every day now. I can now use my mind and get all the knowledge that I need and move around. So that's where I'm now, is trying to learn that.
LaWanda just dropped another nugget on y'all, and y'all probably didn't catch it. She just told y'all how to go from business owner to CEO. It's 2 different things. We start these businesses and we're working in them, and we the ones that's making everything happen. We the cook, the baker, the candlestick maker. And then at some point you do have to transition
Mm-hmm.
Let your, let your baby go off to school and let
Yeah.
somebody else, let
Yeah.
somebody else babysit your baby
Yes.
while you, go off and do other things. And so that's key. I love that you brought that up. You kind of snuck that in there, but I wanted to bring that out. So who would you say, or what would you say is your biggest influence, who or what, it could be either one, that got you on the path to entrepreneurship? What really inspired you to do this?
Well, I didn't really have plans on it. It just fell in my lap. Uh, when you get fired, it falls in your lap. So,
Hey, I know that story.
So it kind of fell in my lap. But over the years, I've networked a lot, and I think I've pulled from a lot of women, especially. I think that just sitting and hearing, I before COVID, I would go and just sit in different events and network with people, and I would learn just to see how people are, where they are or where they're going. Especially, I love to sit in places where they're above me, and I just sit there and just marvel at it, and just take it in. So over the years, especially before COVID happened, for me, a lot of my influence was networking and going into places. I never forget that now, let me see, she's been around about 3 years now, and she just did a conference and doing business God's way. And when I first met Lola a few years ago, every time she would have conference, she had a TED talk I went to, she would keep having more and more, it felt to me, more expensive conferences. But I always would leave out of one, I kid you not, Chanelle, and say, I'm going to that TED talk. I left out the first thing. I was like, I don't care how much I'm being that TED talk. And I got in the TED talk and seeing things and people that I wasn't used to seeing and hearing speeches. I had never sit there before and just listen to people just come on the stage and give these speeches. And it was just like
TED Talks. I love TED Talks.
I never experienced that. So that just motivated me to see. And I think it was all women that year. And then from there, she did something else. And then this time she did a virtual conference. And each time I noticed that I've noticed my growth over the years. I see me growing. I see me getting in bigger circles so that I could get, more knowledge. So for me, a lot of my influence is I usually go after people or watch people who have been there, who are very transparent. That helps me. I like people that's willing to tell you the truth. But I also like people who are real, and they're real with themselves, and they don't have to be ashamed. If they're a millionaire, they're a millionaire. You ain't got to be ashamed. Listen, I want to hear about it. Listen, so I'm attracted to that. So those have been big influences now. Like she had $1 million round table at the virtual conference, and the girl from Shade Room, I didn't know she was a female for one, and I didn't know she was Black. And to hear her talk to how she got Shade Room started, I'm like you with the guy. It just blew my mind. I was like, that's all you did? And it's where now? And this is what you're doing? And she talked about her faith in God and how she believed it and she achieved her mindset. So I love people like that, who was just out of the norm, and you find out their background story. And so now I've been following her, but just to be at the round table with her virtually and then hear her talk about it, I'm like, I could have done that. See? And to hear her talk on another level. And so I've been drawing a lot of inspiration from people like that. I love to see people backstory, but I like for them to be real now. If you're a millionaire, you're a millionaire. I listen, don't dim me it down because I'm trying to get there. Yeah. So I need to know. And I need you to talk in that perspective, and just to talk how she hired people and how she's big on team and leadership. So them are my influences. I love to go to networking events and conferences and to see people really tell their story, but also tell you, I'm here now. And this is, and giving you the real truth about it. I enjoy that. So those have been my influences these last couple of years. Is really seeing people talk and really giving you the tea. I haven't really had a business mentor per se. No, I haven't. Most of my things are just really pulling from things that I watch people learn. I'll pay for their conferences or pay for their, when they have these events, and I'll sit and learn and network with other people. And that's where I've been gaining all of it from over the years. And I enjoy doing it.
And that's a key. That's a key right there too. Because if you don't get exposure to other things, because most of us, we're taught, go to school, get a job.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not exposed to other things, you don't even know what else is out here.
Mm-hmm.
You get at some of these conferences and some of these rooms and these people are talking and you like, wait a minute, what is going
Yes.
on? Like, I've been missing this whole side of life.
Yes.
What? Like, what is it like this?
Yes.
So that's why it's so important. I am big on, hey, if you got to be the dumbest person in the room, if I don't care if you got to go in there and volunteer and serve or whatever you got to do to get in the room, get in the room. It's been so many times I have not been able to pay, the $250 plate or whatever the case. And I'm like, oh, y'all need somebody at the registration table? I'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm checking the people in and I'm standing at the door listening.
Mm-hmm.
You got to figure out, make it happen and get the exposure and because that the level of faith and expectation too. Because you're like, wait, if he did it for them,
yes,
so now that you're already, ahead of somebody in business, you're ahead of a lot of people in business. What would you say to somebody who's just starting or maybe struggling to kind of get their footing, about, how to apply their faith or what they should do if they feel like, they're kind of out here lost or whatever the case? What simple, solid piece of advice would you give somebody?
Trust God and trust yourself. Because they go hand in hand. Because definitely faith without works is dead. So we can have the faith in God to do it, but if you don't get up and do anything about it. And reason I said trust yourself, because just over the last year or so, being a podcast host and talking to all these entrepreneurs, I've noticed self is a big thing for everybody lately. A lot of people say things like, I'm not sure, I'm confused, what if it ain't, so now I'm learning that you got to put your trust in God and then believe in yourself. You got to believe in yourself. If you don't believe it, nobody else will. And that's what I've been really pushing down to people. If you don't believe it, even if I used the example last week, even if them cupcakes nasty, listen, nasty. Listen, if you believe they taste good, you can attempt to sell it to other folks, because there's a lot of people out cooking stuff and they think it's great because they believe in themselves.
That's true.
They believe in. You can't tell them that their meal is not great because they believe in it. And you can't tell me nothing. I know my greens is the bomb. And they gonna believe it. And but let me tell you something, they gonna sell it to the point. A lot of things is sold off of you believing it.
That's it. I promise you, it's so much stuff out here that's the halfway mediocre, and you be wondering, how did they become a millionaire? Because they got up there flat-footed and told them people what to do, and that they, they believe in life.
They believed in it, and to the point they'll have you believing it so tough that you eating the greens and they wasn't good the first time you tried it. You done went back, got enough thing in them greens, and now you believe they the best thing.
That is funny.
They believe in yourself. So you gotta believe in God, trust God, and take God with you the whole journey. But you gotta believe in yourself, and that's what I'm seeing with a lot of people. They don't believe in their self. They don't believe in their own ability. And so that's what's stopping a lot of business owners from growing, from progressing. They love to blame that people don't support. That's not it. Ooh, that's not the problem. The problem is they don't support it because they don't believe you support it. They don't believe you know what you're doing. Ooh. They're a little uneasy because it's like, you don't believe that it's good. I'm not buying that cake, and you sit there and you unsure about the icing. And you want me to pay you $35, $40 for a cake? And I don't see you cut it or eat it? Come on. You don't believe in it. So that's what I've been telling a lot of new entrepreneurs and people on the podcast. You gotta start believing. And that's what goes back to perception of yourself and that self-check. Do you in business for money, but that goes, if you don't believe it, and you don't really see yourself growing in it, that money is nothing. It's way past money now, honey.
Yeah, it is. And it'll show up in so many different ways. It'll show up in how you market yourself. It'll show up in how you have, do stuff and you just doing
Mhm.
stuff together, you know, just to say you did something, or you know, it'll show up in so many different ways when you really aren't believing what you saying you doing,
Mhm.
and it'll really
Mhm.
it'll stunt your growth for real, for real.
It
That is
will.
major key right there. So
Mhm.
we coming to the end of the show. Tell us what you're working on. Okay, you got the cleaning business. You've already told us about that and how you're trying to expand. What else are you working on right now? And how can the people find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook under my name, LaWanda L. Thomas, or you can find me under Regality Inc. And Regality Inc. is where business prayer partners come on Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's the podcast, where it's a community of business believers and we come together. I have guests come on. We chat, we talk, we inspire, and then we pray together and pray over our businesses. And then on Mondays now, probably for the last month now, okay, about the last month, I have what is called It's All About the Business radio show. And it is here in Northwest Indiana, but it is on the web under www.rejoice102.com. So that's every Monday morning at 9. That's strictly business. I give out the business tea, let you know what's going on in the world. Like today, I talked about Alibaba. I done talked about Amazon today. Listen, I talks about it all. And so I give some good business information, but it's really stories to inspire us and to let us know what's going on in the world. And if they can do it, you can do it. And just to show the tips and the strategies of how these business really, what they're doing. And you can get out here and do it too. So that's Monday mornings at 9. And then I'll be this weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I'll be touring with what is called Art of Transparency. We go somewhere every month. And it's all about healing one city and one nation at a time. Mm-hmm. So we basically are a group of people, men and women, and we go and tell our stories in different cities. And we do like charity work the day before. And then that Saturday is a day where people come and we tell our stories. We inspire people with how we got to where we are. It can be very touching, very ministry sometimes, very inspiring. And so I've fell in love with it. I did it in 2019, and then I wanted to go back this year. So I'll be in Alabama this weekend with them. So I really enjoyed standing up there and inspiring people, telling my story. And you find networking. You find out after that, you meet people in different cities. And you become, they start to follow you. You start to become, networking buddies. So it has become a lot. And so Marketplace Ministry, so Art of Transparency. And so they're on Facebook too, on the Art of Transparency tour. So I'll be doing that this weekend. And I think that's about it. I think that's enough. That's enough.
Look, maybe it's not, but it sounds like a whole lot, girl. You got a lot going on, and I am so proud of you. I am so excited. I mean, you know me, I just champion us. Anytime I see us doing,
yes, you do, and I appreciate it.
I'm like, let's go. Let's put the pedal to the metal. How can we like light this thing on fire and just blow it up? So I am so excited. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been. Look, I feel like the time went by so fast. The conversation was so good.
Yeah. We stay well together. So, and I will be having you back on Business Prayer Partners. Well, you came nighttime before. So now I'm going to have you come on Business Prayer Partners and talk about this marketing, child. Because these need to know.
Yeah, they do.
What putting out is not real stuff.
Oh, bless them, Jesus.
So
I don't know if you want me on there telling them that.
Tell the truth. Tell the truth and shame the devil.
Let me tell you, because I got a real truthful spirit. And my mama, she was like, you just be saying. And I'm like, Mama, I got to tell them.
Somebody got to be the voice.
Somebody got to be the voice crying out in the wilderness to tell these people.
I'm definitely going to have you on the morning segment. We did a night segment together last time. So I'm excited to have you come and do a morning segment and get these people together because they have to know what. Listen, the last time you was on, the people was like, oh, that's not real marketing. That ain't what I'm doing. And they've been stuck ever since. So no, it's not. I got to come on back. So, but thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate you always thinking of me, giving me chances, pushing, supporting. I truly appreciate it.
It is not hard. It's not hard to think of people when they are walking in the spirit of excellence. So keep doing what you're doing, and Bible say your gift gonna keep making room for you. So
Yes, it will. Yes, it will.
all right, y'all. Well, look, y'all know every Monday at 6 p.m. Central, we are here on YouTube live. We will be talking to a whole nother entrepreneur next week, getting her story and figuring out what's going on. And so I want y'all to come on back next week, tune in with us, and also stay tuned to me on all social media channels. That's how you'll find out who's coming on, who's going to be the next guest. I should have that up here to be able to tell you. And I know who she is, but right now, off the top of my head, I can't tell you. So I'm sorry. And then also make sure that you subscribe to this channel. Don't leave here without subscribing, because I want you to see when all my other videos come up too. All right, y'all. We'll see you next week. Until